What's going on, y'all? It is my first time doing a mock draft for the 2026 NFL Draft. We're just going to jump right into it. First overall pick. It's been a little while, I think. I mean, they announced Caleb Williams in 2024 pretty far in advance, or at least it was leaked that was going to be the pick. But this is the first time in a while that we all know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the first pick. And it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. Kubiak's coming in. Clint Kubiak's coming in to coach the Raiders, and he's got, he's going to want his quarterback. Geno Smith just wasn't it. I know that he had good years with the Seahawks, but the Raiders need a fresh start. The Raiders are not an ideal location, I don't think, for Mendoza to go. He's good, but I think if you put him in some other classes, he would have fallen to third or fourth. Like in the 2024 class, I would not have him up there with Jaden and Drake and Caleb. He'd be more in the Michael Penix range, I think. But he can read defenses fairly well. He's got to be able to throw on the run a little bit. But we'll see. He's got some gifts, and I hope that they're able to put some talent around him. The wide receiving core over there is not great. He does have Brock Bowers. He's got Ashton Genty. That line could use some improvement as well. So we'll see what they do with the rest of the draft and free agency. But clearly Mendoza is the first overall pick. And then you come to the Jets. That is not a situation that anyone really wants to go to. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, it's Justin Fields, and he just had a rough year. They were known for their defense, a few years back, but they weren't great. This year. They also traded away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, like getting rid of all of their stars to hopefully plan for the future. You usually see that in the NBA, not the NFL, but I think it's going to be another kind of tank season. They'll probably be picking top 3 again next year. But here, I'm going to go best player available. A lot of people want them to draft a wide receiver like a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson, but until you get a quarterback, you just should not be spending the top 10 pick on a wide receiver. So I am going to go Arvell Reese. It's top ranked here, but he's also my top ranked player. I think he's the best player in this draft. He's incredibly versatile. He gets the tweener label a little bit, which can be seen as a negative, but he's so good going at the quarterback. He can also cover a little bit. He's a leader. He's a phenomenal tackler, plays the run well, just an elite defender. So he's going to be the pick there at number 3 or at number 2. Number 3, the Cardinals are another weird situation. Are they going to let Kyler walk? Are they going to try to trade him? I don't know that anybody's going to trade when his salary is what it is. Do they keep him on the roster and it's awkward, but they start Jacoby Brissett? Like, what are they going to do here? They don't have a quarterback. This draft doesn't have anybody worth drafting this high at the quarterback position. So I think what they're going to do is try to maybe have something ready for when the quarterback comes next year. So I'm going to give them Spencer Fano from Utah. Give them, I think, the best tackle in the draft. Defend or so that he can protect whoever's back there, be it Kyler or Brissett or otherwise, and roll from there. Titans had a rough year. They got Cam Ward last year, so they've got the quarterback. I do think there's something there. I think he's a solid player. Brian Daboll is going to be the offensive coordinator. I think he'll be pretty good for him. He was able to do some good work with Josh Allen. Less successful with Daniel Jones, but we'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of talent in Cam Ward. To me, this is either edge rusher or wide receiver. It's the positions that are, the top players are available here in Reuben Bain, David Bailey, or Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson. To me, I think you're gonna go defense here. I've gone Carnell Tate a couple times in my head when I was doing the practice of this, but Reuben Bain to me just makes more sense. Get that defense strong. You've got a defensive-minded head coach coming in. I think that's the direction that they're going to want to go. New York, I think that New York Giant fans will be absolutely elated if this is exactly how 1 through 4 goes, because they're going to want their GM to rush to the table and pick up Carnell Tate. That's what I'm going to do. I think that you put him opposite of Malik Neighbors, and you've got an elite 1-2 punch with a great running back whenever Scatterbo comes back. And I think Jackson Dart's really good. If they can keep their offensive line together, I know that one of their tackles is a free agent. Got to re-sign him, and maybe you build some depth through free agency. But Carnell Tate at number 5, you've got 2 probably number 1 options for the Giants, and that's the direction you're going to go. Browns, they let Stefanski go. They're probably going to have to run it back with Shedeur. They may, have this kind of competition in camp. I don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, if he's ever going to play football again. He's still under contract. They're paying way too much money to the quarterback position right now. Shedeur, to me, is not the answer, even though he's a Pro Bowler. But, for the Saints, they've got a lot to figure out. Or, sorry, for the Browns, they've got a lot to figure out. But they've got to go. I think they got to go offense. Their defense was elite. Their defense, if you put their defense on anybody that was in the playoffs, maybe other than the Seahawks, and that team probably makes it to the Super Bowl. That's just how good they were. But on offense, you could go wide receiver Jordan Tyson. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got some good tight ends. I know Njoku's a free agent. They might try to bring him back, but Fannin had a great year. But I'm going to go Francis Mauigoa. They've got to protect whoever's going to be playing quarterback and keep them upright and help with that run game. Quinshon Judkins had a great year once he started playing. He's got to stay healthy, but he was just so good and worth the gamble. Commanders are up. They are my favorite team. I don't make that a secret. I'm wearing, I don't know if you can see, I'm wearing my Bill shirt right now. Love him as a 7th round pick. I don't know that he is the bell cow. He's got to get better at catching the ball and some protecting the passer. So Jeremiah Love, to me, is kind of on the board right here. But their defense was so bad last year. We've brought in a new defensive coordinator in Durante Jones. He loves to get after the quarterback. They also have David Blau as the new offensive coordinator. I think they need some wide receiver help. Terry's still there, but Debo's a free agent. I think they'll try to re-sign him, and maybe they'll go after some in free agency. Excuse me. But, in this scenario, I think David Bailey sitting there is just too good of a pick. He's incredibly productive, and is probably, there's going to be a lot of debate between him and Reuben Bain as to who the best pass rusher is in this draft. And I think David Bailey, sitting there at 7, you jump to it. I want to be clear, Caleb Downs is also in consideration there. But to me, the value of the safety position just isn't the same as an edge rusher. If you were to take the 10th best pass rusher in the entire league, no clue who you would consider that to be, but you compare it to the best safety in the league, Derwin James, I would argue that the 10th best pass rusher makes a greater impact than the top safety. Let me know if you disagree, but that's how I feel. So the Saints are up. They had a surprisingly decent year, not record-wise, but they put up decent numbers in offense. Tyler Shuck looks like he could be the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. He's got to continue getting better, but for a second-round pick and kind of being thrown into the wolves, I think he was a good pick, and he did well. To me, they've got to either address edge rush or wide receiver. And I think, Keldrick Falk is here. He's going to be one. I think this is way too highly rated, but I think he's going to rise up as the workouts, off-season workouts go, the pro days, the combine. But I love Jordan Tyson here. He is a big body wide receiver. You put him next to Chris Olave, assuming Olave can stay healthy. He had a great year, and I think there's your 1-2 punch. Offensive line was pretty decent for them, at least at especially at the tackle positions. So you just keep going that route. Kansas City is up, and this is like the nightmare fuel for the rest of the league. The Chiefs had one down year. Rashee Rice was suspended for the beginning of the year. They had a couple injuries. Their offense just wasn't clicking the way it usually is, but their defense was still pretty good. And now they're picking top 10, and Jeremiah Love just falls to them. Isaiah Pacheco, I think, is a free agent. Probably Kareem Hunt as well. I think he is as well. But basically, they don't have a true starting running back coming back. And Jeremiah Love is on the level of a Bijan Robinson. And you give them that with still a top 3 quarterback in the league. To me, he's number 2 right now, behind Josh Allen. Sorry, I mean, Josh Allen's got to win in the playoffs, but at least regular season, that dude is elite. And then you're to the Bengals, number 10. This team, I mean, Joe Burrow's got to play a full season. He's got to break that curse. He's got to play a full season, and they've got to have a defense that doesn't rank, 28th or below. So, to me, it's defense. You've got to be able to keep. You got to be able to keep your team in the game. Burrow can't come into the game down 7-0 every single time, and so Caleb Downs falling to the 10th spot. It's just too much value to pass. It's either him or Keldrick Falk, but Caleb Downs just makes a ton of sense. I think he's a position of need. I know that they are potentially going to lose Trey Hendrickson, so once again, Keldrick Falk was considered, but I'm going to go Caleb Downs here. And then the Dolphins, they're in a kind of rebuild mode. Do they move on from Tua? Do they, will they keep Tyreek Hill? There's a lot of questions. They've got a new coach. So to me, they're going to need to build the defense first. There's no quarterback worth taking. I think they'll try to sign some wide receivers in free agency. You could look at Mekhi Lemon here. He's a solid wide receiver. He is also a speedy guy. He's on the shorter side, so he would replace a Tyreek Hill. He's not Tyreek Hill when it comes to speed, at least at Tyreek's peak, but he's a similar build, quick twitch, in and out of his cuts kind of guy, and he'd be a great option here. But for me, I'm going to go with the first corner off the board, Mansour Delane from LSU. He's a lockdown man. He's the closest thing to a lockdown corner in this draft. There's a couple of corners from Tennessee that are most likely first rounders. Spoiler alert. And there's Avion Terrell from Clemson. That's solid. But to me, Delane's the top corner and closest thing to a true lockdown. We'll see what he becomes at the pro level. And then you've got the Cowboys up next. They're going to have to re-sign Pickens, and I think they will. But then they've got to go defense for the rest of the draft. I mean, they scored. I mean, they were top 10 in scoring, but bottom 10 in points allowed. Still end up in with a 12th pick. They should have been so much better. Dak played well. Javonte Williams was incredibly surprising. But they're going to have to play. They're going to have to build that defense. And to me, you start with a brand new leadership, middle linebacker, Sonny Styles. He's kind of Fred Warner. I can't call him Fred Warner, but he plays like Fred Warner. I've seen projections for Styles going as high as 5. So if he's here at 12, I think that's a great value for them. And then you move on to the Rams, and they're going to have to go defense as well. That offense was elite. As long as you keep everybody, I think there's probably going to be some free agents. Devontae Adams, potentially. I don't remember what contract he signed, but they're going to want to bring him back. He'll probably want to be there with how successful he was. But you're going to get defense here. Keldrick Falk still here. Once again, ignore the 5. I think that's too highly rated for him. He's going to be someone that does move up based on his measurables. Yeah, they breaks the mold of what's possible. 6'5", 288. I get it. But they've also got Jared Verse already. They're doing okay in pass rush. I'm going to go secondary, and to me, it's either McCoy or Terrell. And I really do hate following their metrics here, but I'm going Jermon McCoy. I think that either one's a good pick here. I like Avion Terrell a lot. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm in ACC country, so I get to see Terrell play a lot of Clemson games. But Tennessee, Jermon McCoy is a big-time corner. He has the length. So he'll be good. They need some help in the secondary. Ravens, first draft without a Harbaugh in a long time. And I don't know why I said a Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, in a very long time. He's moved up to New York. So I'm not sure the direction they'll go. Under Harbaugh, they really never drafted wide receivers. They were known for their defense, and I think they're going to continue to try to be known for their defense. And this is finally it. This is as far as Keldrick falls. I'm going to get good value edge rusher to the Ravens. And, I'm sure that culture, even though it's a new coaching staff, it's still going to be very much defense and hard hitting. To the Bucs, they might be the most disappointed team in the entire NFL, the way that their season ended based on last year's success and then the way it started the year. To allow the Panthers to sneak into the playoffs every year, losing to the Falcons like that, just very, very rough way to end the year. I think Baker is still the guy. Mike Evans, I believe, is a free agent, and there's a lot of talk of him actually leaving. So that's a potential position. They've got Ibuka and they've got Chris Godwin if he can stay healthy. They've got McMillan. So they've got young talent there. I'm not too worried about Mike Evans leaving. They've got to figure it out on defense, and I'm thinking I'm going to go Avion Terrell here. I'm going to give them help in the secondary. Colton Hood is also a potential pick here. He's the other one from Tennessee. I think they're very, very similar. We've got 6 foot and 5'11", so very, very similar. Both quick twitch guys that can play in pretty much any system. But Avion Terrell is just, he's a ball hawk. He's always around it. I think that he had see if it says anything about it. He had a ton of, there it is, peanut punches, 8 forced fumbles. He's a turnover machine, and I really like him. Jets are back up, and this is, I know I said earlier, you don't draft the wide receiver before you have the quarterback, but Mekhi Lemon's still here, and they need one so desperately because it can't just be Garrett Wilson. I saw a stat that Garrett Wilson was, he was still the receiving leader, and he hadn't played since week 4 or week 6 or something like that. So I am going to give them Mekhi Lemon, give them some wide receiver help opposite of Garrett Wilson, and we'll see what happens. I don't have any faith that it's going to be a good rookie season for Lemon, but he makes sense for them from a position of need and value. So the Lions are back up, or not back up, but the Lions are up, and they had a good year, but it was disappointing when they missed the playoffs. I don't know, their numbers looked good. I think that they need some help on the defensive line opposite of Hutchinson. They need to rebuild that offensive line a little bit. They had the unexpected retirement of their center, and their tackles just weren't as good as expected. I'm going to probably go that route. Yeah, they don't need wide receiver help. There's no edge rusher worth taking right here. TJ Parker. Yeah, I really like Peter Woods as well. But I think I'm going to go Caleb Lomu, the other Utah left tackle. Solidify that line, help Jahmyr Gibbs be as elite as he can be, keep Jared Goff upright, and keep the offense moving, because that is the strength of their team. And so just keep rebuilding that. And you build in the trenches, and you're going to be built for success. Vikings are up. Vikings were able to keep Brian Flores. I know he went around and interviewed for some other head coaching jobs, as well as one defensive coordinator job with my Commanders. So that's good. There are a lot of rumors right now of them doing everything they can to get Joe Burrow. If the Bengals trade away Joe Burrow, they're absolutely morons. When healthy, asterisk, I know. But he's a top 5 quarterback, hands down. To me, he's top 3. He's just so good, so accurate. And Jamar Chase, you piss him off too. So Vikings, assuming they run back with McCarthy, they've got good wide receivers. They could use a running back. They've got a good tight end. Offensive line's pretty solid. I think even though their defense was the strength, I think positionally and talent wise, it might actually have less talent. The quarterback's just really what's holding them back. Like Ty Simpson's a potential here. I just don't think he's good enough. That's too high for him. That's yeah. I don't think he's. I don't know if he'll fall into the first round. There's always the thing about trying to draft a quarterback in the first round to get that fifth-year option, keep him cheap for a little bit. But I don't think this is the move here. Vikings, I think I'm going to go defense probably in the secondary because their pass rush was so good. Well, as long as there's anybody worth taking. Yeah, Colton Hood. Just talked about him a minute ago about being the other Tennessee corner. That's a first rounder, absolute lock. So really like him there. On to the Panthers, who snuck into the playoffs and got to host a game at 8-9. Good old Bryce Young leading them to the promised land. They need help kind of all over. They could use a wide receiver. They need some offensive line help. They could use some pass rush. They could use some secondary help. But I'm going to go with an interior offensive lineman, keep Bryce up, especially with being such a short quarterback. He's got to be able to have people up front that are just keeping the defense at bay and let him be able to see between the cracks at least, because he's not going to see over anything. They talked about that with Kyler Murray, how he's got to be able to see between. Bryce has a very similar situation. Cowboys are back up. Forgot that they had 2 first-round picks for the Micah Parsons trade, I believe. So good for them. So they're back up. Who did I take with the first one? Went linebacker. To me, they're still going to have to go defense. Their defensive line is the strength of their defense. Peter Woods, it's a good value here, but I just don't know that it's a need. I think I'm going to go Brandon Cisse. So he is a really good corner. He played at NC State before going to South Carolina. It's my favorite team. Love Brandon Cisse. He has good size. He is a hard hitter. So I could see him moving around a little bit, playing some safety potentially. He's got good hands, hard hitter. Be curious to see where they play him. But really like him in this position right here. Steelers are up. Steelers, similar to the Ravens, first time in forever. It's not Mike Tomlin. So maybe they will either get a top 10 pick or make it past the first round of the playoffs, since Tomlin's thing was barely making the playoffs and then getting out quickly. Other than the one Super Bowl, but it is what it is. So the Steelers, they got to figure out if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. They've got some good talent on offense. DK had a pretty decent year. They've got good running backs. I think this could be a spot for Ty Simpson. Do they want to figure out homegrown quarterback? Maybe Aaron Rodgers does come back and you still draft a Ty Simpson to let him learn behind him, and then take over halfway through if it's not working. That way you can allow yourself to lose more games. I really like Casey Concepcion, another one that started in NC State and then went elsewhere. Kenyon Sadiq is an elite tight end. He's going to be the only one worth a first round grade in this draft. And Peter Woods is still there. I think I'm going to take Ty Simpson. Let me know if that's too early. Let me know if you're a Steelers fan, if you'd be willing to take the risk on him. But that's what we're going to do here. So we are to the Chargers. And I think I'm going to make it pretty easy on everybody. Their offense looks really good. They've got Mike McDaniel now. They're going to keep cruising. Peter Woods is the pick. He's fallen far enough. It's good value for them. And you bolster that defensive line, and if you get healthier on the offensive side of the ball with the offensive line, I think it's going to be they'll be back in the playoffs and doing really well. Eagles are up. They had a rough end to the year. They just kind of they sputtered out at the ends. Saquon Barkley just didn't have the year that you expected after 2025, after 2024. To me, you're looking at offensive line, Kenyon Sadiq, or something on defense. Their defense was still pretty elite. Edge rush is something that you could look at, but I'm going Kenyon Sadiq. Dallas Goedert's a free agent. I think that you just let him walk. He would be pretty expensive to re-sign. You've got Kenyon Sadiq here available who could come in and probably be as productive the way that rookie tight ends have been immediately productive in recent years. Then you got the Browns back up, and there's a world where maybe they wanted TJ Simpson or Ty Simpson to drop, but they're up here. And I mentioned earlier the potential of going wide receiver. I got them in offensive tackle. I think, as I mentioned already, their defense was elite. I'm going to give them Casey Concepcion. He is kind of in the mold of a Tyreek Hill. He is incredibly fast, amazing after the catch, good hands, can play in the slot, can play outside, can play out of the backfield. Just really, he's a weapon. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the return game, but just incredibly good. Had a great season at A&M. And so the Browns get better on offense. Bears are up. Great year for them. They won a playoff game. Caleb seems to have settled in under Ben Johnson. That was the best coaching hire he could have had. He's got him playing really, really well. And they need to work on that defense a little bit more. They're a well-rounded team, but their wide receivers are elite. Offensive line's pretty solid. I could see Caden Proctor as a potential just because he's good, and you can never have enough good offensive tackles. Running back is another one. Like, Swift is fine, but there's nobody that's worth a first-round pick here. So to me, I'm going to go TJ Parker, edge rusher from Clemson. Get them somebody opposite of Montez Sweat. Hopefully he can produce for them early. Bills are up. Another just failure in the playoffs, and I'll jump to it. They need a wide receiver. Keon Coleman apparently is on the outs. The GM claims he didn't actually want him. So we're going to go Denzel Boston. He is a big body. I've seen him listed at 6'4" in some places, but he is going to be a red zone threat. He's going to be great to have out there on third down. He could be a Mike Evans if it all hits. 49ers, they just need to stay healthy because their team is good from top to bottom. They could use some wide receiver depth. They could use some offensive line help potentially. They could use some defense. They just need quality depth. They're not looking like any gaping holes or anything like that. They just got to stay healthy. So to me, I'm just going to take Caden Proctor. It's a good value. Position of need. Trent Williams is, still elite, but he's getting old. So yeah, Caden Proctor. Start him at right tackle, eventually move him to left tackle when Trent retires. Texans are up. CJ Stroud with the most embarrassing, disappointing performance in the playoffs that he's had in his young career. So hopefully he can bounce back from that fairly quickly. They were good on both sides of the ball. They got, Nico Collins got injured at the wrong time. Offensive line could use a little bit of help. Defensive line could use a little bit of help. To me, it's between either of these D tackles, Caleb Banks and Caden McDonald. I'm going to go Caleb Banks. He didn't play a ton of games. I think he only played 3 games this year. But his potential is sky high, and once he gets into workouts, I think he's going to move up some boards. He may not even be available here. It's always tough with those guys that miss time in their last year in college. You got to go based on older tape and hope that they recover fully. But I think Caleb's going to be a great pick here. Rams are back up. Where did we go with the first pick? Jermon McCoy, we went defense. So I think we'll go offense on this one. And I'm going to give them Monroe Freeling. I'm going to give them offensive line help. They're perfectly fine at receiver and running back. Tight end's fine. There's no tight end worth taking. So we're going to give them some offensive line help and then move on to the Broncos. Broncos, great year. You hate to see Bo Nix get injured. and then the weird conversation and comments from Sean Payton about his surgeries and things after that. You could go on either side of the ball. They've got a really, really complete team. They've got a good running game. They've got pretty good wide receivers. They could use a slot guy because, Mims and Sutton are good on the outside, but there's not really one. Chris Bell is not a slot receiver. To me, I'm going to go defense. I'm between C.J. Allen and Anthony Hill Jr. I'd like to get them another running back or another linebacker that can help lead that defense with Surtain. And I'm gonna go Anthony Hill Jr. I just think he's more in the mold of a middle linebacker, and just an elite player, good tackler. New England Patriots, surprisingly in the Super Bowl. I am an NC State fan, and it kills me to see Drake May make it there. Hopefully Drake Thomas, shout out to NC State on the Seahawks, can get a couple sacks and get the win for them. So Patriots are up. Once another team, like they could use a wide receiver, just because Diggs, I believe, maybe not. Maybe he's not. I'm going to avoid wide receiver then. Take that back. I'm going to give them the leftover linebacker in C.J. Allen. He is also just, I think he's Mike Vrabel reincarnate. And we're here with the Seahawks. They could go any direction. I think offensive line works. I think wide receiver could work. Cooper Kupp may retire, especially if they win the Super Bowl. But I'm going to give them Chase Pasantis, give them the offensive guard, and that's the end of our mock draft. Let me know where I've messed up, because that's my favorite thing to see is when fan bases can tell me where I messed up. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe if you made it this far, and I'll keep them coming. Let me know what else you want to see.